Once upon a time, in a small village called Igbo-Ora, there lived a young girl named Adaobi. She was the only child of her parents, Mr. and Mrs. Ejiki. She was known for her kindness and love for farming. Adaobi family grew yams, cassava, and vegetables in their farm. Every morning, Adaobi would wake up early to help her mother with household chores. She would then join her father in the farm, where they would work together under the warm sun. One day, Adaobi's father told her about a secret waterfall hidden deep in the forest. He said it was a magical place where the villagers would go to pray and make wishes. Adaobi was curious and wanted to see the waterfall for herself. Adaobi asked her friends, Ada and Ifi, to join her on the adventure. They were excited and agreed to go with her. The three friends set out early in the morning carrying baskets and walking through the forest. As they walked, the trees seemed to grow taller and the path grew narrower. The air was filled with an eerie silence, and the only sound was the rustling of leaves beneath their feet. Suddenly Ada stopped and whispered, "Do you hear that?" Adaobi and Ifi listened closely, and they heard a faint whispering sound like someone was calling out to them. But when they looked around, they saw no one. Ifi shivered and said, "Let's go back. This feels strange." But Adaobi was curious. She wanted to see the waterfall and uncover the secrets of the forest. "Come on, it's just a little further," she said, leading her friends deeper into the woods. As they walked further, the whispering grew louder, and the air grew thick with an otherworldly energy. Adaobi felt a shiver run down her spine, but she pressed on. Suddenly the trees parted, and they saw the waterfall in all its glory. But something was off. The water seemed to be pulsing, and the sound of the waterfall was almost like a warning. Ada grabbed Adaobi's arm, her eyes wide with fear. "Let's go back. Adaobi, this feels like a place of dark magic." But Adaobi was transfixed. She felt an inexplicable pull towards the waterfall as if something was calling to her. If I whispered, "What if it's the Mamiwata? What if she's summoning us?" The Mamiwata was a mythical creature from their village, as Tori said, to lure people to their doom with her enchanting voice and beauty. Adaobi hesitated, but it was too late. The water began to churn and foam, and a figure emerged from the depths. The figure emerged from the water, her long hair flowing like these weed in the currents. Hiriaz glowed with a neither light, and her voice was like the gentle lapping of waves on the shore. "Welcome," Adobisha said, her voice hypnotic. "I've been waiting for you. You've been chosen for a great purpose, one that requires bravery and cunning." Adaobi felt herself being drawn to the woman as if she was under some sort of spell. Adan if he tried to pull her back, but she shook them off. "What purpose?" Adaobi asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The woman smiled, and Hiriaz seemed to gleam with mischief. "You will see," she said, "but first you must prove yourself worthy. Are you willing to face the trials of the forest?" Adaobi hesitated, unsure of what lay ahead, but something inside her urged her to take the challenge. "I'm willing," she said, her voice firm. The woman nodded, and with a wave of her hand the forest around them began to change. The trees seemed to twist and writhe, and the air grew thick with a nearly pulsating energy. "Then let the trials begin," the woman said, her voice dripping with mastery and menace. Adaobi steeled herself, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The woman handed her a small, intricately carved wooden box. "Solve the riddle of the box," she said. "If you succeed, you will be one step closer to fulfilling your purpose. But be warned, the trials are treacherous, and failure comes with a great cost." Adaobi took the box, feeling its weight and examining its intricate carvings. She opened it, but inside she found another riddle, etched onto a small piece of parchment. "What can be broken but never held? What can be given but never sold?" Adaobi thought deeply, her mind racing with possibilities. Ada and Ifi watched anxiously, unsure of what to do. The woman's eyes seemed to bore into Adaobi, elusive, waiting for her to fail. Suddenly Adaobi's face lit up with understanding. "The answer is a promise," she exclaimed. The woman's face remained expressionless, but a hint of a smile played on her lips. "Very good, Adaobi, you have passed the first trial, but the next one will be even more challenging." The forest around them grew darker, and the air grew thick with anticipation. Adaobi felt a sense of trepidation, but she was determined to see this through. What would the next trial bring? The woman nodded, her eyes gleaming with a mixture of approval and warning. "The next trial is the labyrinth of reflections. You must navigate through a maze of mirrors where your deepest fears and desires will be revealed. Can you confront your own reflections and emerge unscathed?" Adaobi took a deep breath, steeling herself for the challenge. The woman led her to a vast mirror-lined labyrinth that seemed to stretch on forever. Ada and Ifi watched anxiously from the entrance, unsure of what to expect. As Adaobi stepped into the labyrinth, the mirrors seemed to ripple and distort, reflecting multiple versions of herself. She saw her as a child playing with her friends, as a young woman dancing at a festival, and as an old woman surrounded by grandchildren. But alongside these happy memories, Adaobi saw darker reflections. She saw herself failing, being rejected, and facing loss. The mirrors seemed to amplify her deepest fears, making them seem real and terrifying. Adaobi's heart pounded in her chest as she navigated the labyrinth, confronting each reflection and trying to make sense of the fragmented images. She stumbled upon a mirror that showed her a future she had never considered, a future without her loved ones, without their home. Adaobi's eyes welled up with tears as she gazed at the mirror, the reflection of her darkest fears staring back at her. But then she remembered the words of her grandmother. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to face it. With newfound determination, Adaobi reached out and touched the mirror. The glass shattered and their reflection disappeared. As she continued through the labyrinth, she encountered more mirrors, each one revealing a different aspect of herself. Some showed her moments of triumph, while others revealed moments of weakness. But with each shattered mirror, Adaobi felt a weight lifting off her shoulders. She was confronting her fears and desires and emerging stronger. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, Adaobi saw a glimmer of light ahead. She pushed through the last row of mirrors and emerged into the bright sunlight. Ada and Ify rushed to her side, embracing her warmly. "You did it, Adaobi," Ada exclaimed. "You're so brave." The woman appeared beside them, a hint of a smile on her face. "Well done, Adaobi. You have passed the second trial, but a final trial awaits." Adaobi steeled herself, ready to face whatever lay ahead. What would the final trial bring? The woman nodded, her expression serene. "You have proven your worth. Adaobi, your purpose is not to complete trials, but to reclaim something precious for your village." With a wave of her hand, the forest around them began to vadine, and Adaobi saw the familiar landscape of her village in the distance. The woman handed Adaobi a small, delicate vial filled with glowing liquid. "This is the essence of the forest," she said. "It will bring fertility and prosperity back to your village, but you must return before sundown or the magic will be lost forever." Adaobi took the vial, feeling its weight and responsibility. She thanked the woman and turned to her friends. "Let's go home," she said, and together they set off towards the village. As they walked, the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the landscape. Adaobi quickened her pace, knowing that time was running out. They reached the village just as the sun dipped below the horizon. Adaobi rushed to the village elder's hut, vial in hand. The elder's eyes lit up with gratitude as Adaobi poured the essence into the soil. The villagers gathered around, watching. In a week, the plants began to grow and flourish before their eyes. The village was saved, and Adaobi was hailed as a hero. She smiled, knowing that she had discovered her own strength and purpose. From that day on, the village prospered, and Adaobi legend grew. As the seasons passed, the village flourished. Crops grew tall and green, and the rivers ran clear and full. The villagers celebrated Adaobi's bravery and selflessness, and her name became synonymous with courage and wisdom. Adaobi friends, Ada and Ify, stood by her side as she showered with praise and admiration. Together they watched as the village transformed into a thriving community filled with laughter and hope. The woman from the forest, Mami Wata, was never forgotten. The villagers built a shrine in her honor, and Adaobi would often visit, leaving offerings and seeking guidance. Years went by, and Adaobi grew old and wise. She became a respected elder, sharing her story and wisdom with generations to come. And when her time on this earth came to an end, the villagers buried her under a cred tree surrounded by the lush greenery that her bravery had brought forth. The tree flourished, its branches stretching towards the sky, a symbol of Adaobi's legacy. And when the villagers looked up at the tree, they remembered the girl who had faced her fears and brought life back to their village. They whispered a phrase that became a blessing. "May Adaobi courage bloom in our hearts forever." Thanks for watching Elizabeth Taste Story, please. Subscribe, like, and share for more interesting stories. Bye-bye.